Hey guys, welcome back to another Sunday school video. It is absolutely gorgeous outside right now. Oh, I think it's somewhere around 70 degrees. I'm recording this on Friday, so if it's not really nice on Sunday when you're watching this, sorry. I hope you had a chance to go outside and enjoy the weather on Friday. But man, this is the best part about fall. You know, you never know what kind of weather you're gonna get. There's a downside to it, because obviously it could switch from this to hail and thunderstorms and disgusting rain, but on days like this, it's just worth it. I would love the spring, except for spring allergies, so that kind of gets in the way. That's kind of a problem for me, but fall, definitely my favorite season. Well, guys, today we have a pretty quick passage, very short, and as you know, we're in the Gospel of Matthew, and we've been going through right towards the end there. We're going to finish out chapter 26 today. And Jesus just got arrested in the Garden of Gethsemane, and he was brought before the Sanhedrin, which is like the Jewish council, you could say, of like spiritual leaders of the Jewish people. So it's a good time for him. But we just finished with them calling him out on blasphemy, because they asked him, hey man, are you God? And he's like, yeah, I'm God. And so they got upset with him, because if he's lying, that's a problem. But since we know he's telling the truth, it shouldn't have been a problem, but they thought he was telling a lie, so they thought it was a problem. So it's a big deal to them. They get really upset. Well, today we're going to be starting in verse 69 and going through to the end of the chapter, which is verse 75. So this is one of the longest chapters in Matthew, with 75 verses. It's kind of crazy, but let's go ahead and read this. It says that now Peter was sitting out in the courtyard, and a servant girl came to him. She said, you also were with Jesus of Galilee. But he denied it before them all. I don't know what you're talking about, he said. Then he went out to the gateway, where another girl saw him, and said to the people there, this fellow was with Jesus of Nazareth. He denied it again, with an oath, I don't know the man. After a little while, those standing there went up to Peter and said, surely you are one of them, for your accent gives you away. Then he began to call down curses on himself, and he swore to them, I don't know the man. Immediately, a rooster crowed. And then Peter remembered the word Jesus had spoken. Before the rooster crows, you will disown me 3 times. And he went outside, and he wept bitterly. Now, for those of you guys that have forgotten, literally just a couple of hours earlier, Jesus was with Peter in the garden, and Jesus was like, hey guys, so all of you disciples, yeah, tonight you're going to fall away from me. You're going to desert me, all of you. And Peter's like, no. Even if I have to die, I'll stick with you. And then Jesus gets arrested. He tells him not to fight. And then all of the disciples desert him. And then we find out that Peter kind of like followed him to where he was going. So after he got arrested, Peter followed him. So that was a couple of hours ago. Now Jesus is before the Sanhedrin. He's going through the trial, and Peter's kind of just waiting to see what happens. And he's trying to keep an eye on it. And in his mind, I'm sure he's thinking, all right, I'm still with Jesus. Jesus is in there, like I'm on his side, like I'm backing him up, all this stuff. But then people notice him. Now Jesus had just gotten arrested. There's an angry crowd. You can probably hear things getting a little tumultuous inside, with the people screaming at him, because calling Jesus out on blasphemy and all this stuff. And so now people are starting to recognize, like, wait a second, this is Peter. He's that guy, that one of those disciples of Jesus. Like, what's he doing here? And Peter, naturally, I'm guessing, is a little afraid, because Jesus just got arrested. The people are kind of in a mood. It's like the middle of the night, and things could go bad really fast. So he doesn't know what to do. So he decides to deny it. He's like, no, I'm not with Jesus. Like, he wants to stick around, but he doesn't want to get found out that he's with Jesus, right? He's like, no, I don't know him. I'm not with him. And then it happens 2 more times, and each time he gets more and more defensive. He's like, no, I do not know this guy. I promise you, I don't know him. And then finally he calls down curses and swears before them, and he's like, I swear to you on my life, or whatever, that I don't know this man Jesus. And then the rooster crows. And it brings back to his mind what Jesus had told him, what Jesus had predicted about him, saying, you will deny me 3 times. And I think what we take out of this passage is that sometimes even the most faithful have points of weakness. They have moments of weakness. You know, Peter was the rock that Jesus was going to build his church on. Jesus had already announced him as being he recognized Jesus as the Christ. He was the first one to do that. So he's already demonstrated great faith. But here's a moment where he shows weakness. He doubts. And it comes out in the way that he lives, in the way that he acts, in the way that he presents himself. And he denies Jesus. He turns against him, just like Jesus had predicted. And I think for us, no matter how faithful we are, we may have those moments of weakness where we doubt, or we're afraid, or we're just nervous or anxious about like how people are going to look at us if they find out that we're Christians, that we follow Jesus. Interestingly, today I went to the Metuchen field hockey game. We won. It was awesome. And I think I ended up sitting on the wrong side in the bleachers. I'm pretty sure I was on Old Bridge's side. So like all the people that were supporting the other team, Old Bridge, they were sitting there, and then the Metuchenites were all on the far side of the bleachers. So I was on the wrong side. And so I kind of like kept quiet. Like instead of like rooting for and cheering for Metuchen, I was kind of like just quiet because like I didn't want everyone looking at me because they were all rooting for the other team. So I thought it'd be weird. And so that's like a small example of a situation where, you know, we don't really want to be found out. Like, yeah, I'm supporting Metuchen, I'm there supporting some of our students, but I don't want the Old Bridge people to look at me weird, so I'm just not going to say anything. And that was a moment of weakness for me. I should have been more vocal, and I should have like cheered them on more. By the way, if you're watching this, Metuchenites, good job. You guys did great. We find out later, I don't think it's in the Gospel of Matthew, but it's in other passages, other Gospels, that Jesus comes back and he forgives Peter. Actually, in the Gospel of Luke, when Peter does this, Jesus can see him and they lock eyes right after Peter denies him. And so there's like a more intimate moment there where Jesus is like, yeah, I know what you did, and I know that you just betrayed me, that you just disowned me. But then later, after Jesus resurrects, he comes to Peter and he forgives him. And he gives him a charge. He's like, I'm going to build my church on you, and you need to feed my sheep. You need to feed my people. You need to lead them. And so I think what we take from this, with that other knowledge that we have from the rest of Scripture, is it's okay to have moments of weakness. It's okay to stumble, to fall. But the important thing, especially when it comes to our faith, is to pick ourselves back up and to keep going. To not let one moment of weakness, one point of doubt, to stop us from believing and trusting in Jesus and from following him and living for him. So when you're in those moments and you realize, oh my goodness, I just like disowned Jesus. I just did this bad thing. I just turned against God. Don't let that haunt you. Don't let that make you stuck. Ask for forgiveness, confess your sin, and move forward. You will receive forgiveness and you can move on. All right. So that's our takeaway from this. We will have moments of weakness, but that we shouldn't let ourselves stay down. We need to pick ourselves back up, and we need to keep going. See you later.